Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on youtube.com/Rogue Matter and facebook.com/We Are Rogue Matter. Join the movement. Go Rogue, roguematter.com. I am your host, Michael Dolce, as always, joined by my cohort in crime, the Lord of the Radio himself, Mr. Hassan Godwin. How you doing, sir? We are privileged to have the Tom Hanks of the Rogue Wave podcast in his 10th appearance on both Rogue Wave and the show that we had that spawned the Rogue Wave podcast. What's that? 10 times too many?
10 times too many.
Could be. Debatable. Mr. Pat
We're gonna find out right now whether it's 10 times too many.
Hello, the champ is here. Okay,
that's true. That's true. We had a big debate last time as to whether or not you really were the most recurring, and then we did the numbers, and it turned out I was like, wow, we really have had.
We really have no other guests.
No, I realized I was going to say no other guests, and really weak programming because we're like, man, we really gotta reach out. But no, it's your first appearance of 2022, and hopefully not your last. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, and I understand that you guys can't get enough of me, and I empathize. I relate. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me so many times. It's been cool. Checking in with you guys here and there. I love what you do. I love the bromance. I enjoy hearing your takes on things, and I'm happy to be back. And hopefully, we'll get into some interesting conversations.
So it's funny. I was going to have you on because of a couple of posts you did on social media that I caught that I thought were great about these articles that we've seen. The TV shows that haven't aged well, and one in particular was Buffy. And you had a great rant about it. We had a nice little conversation on social media. Civilized, which is against everything social media stands for.
It's true.
And I was like, I got to have Pat on for that. And then you did a newsletter post about Kickstarter and going over to the blockchain. And I was like, man, that's something I think people would want to, talk about as well too. And I said, got to have him on for this. And then all the Joss Whedon stuff happened.
Yeah.
And last week, we ended up,
if the universe knew that you'd be coming on.
Yeah. It's almost as if the article writers timed it to come out at a certain time. And so we discussed it last week, but I was like, man, what good timing. So we're going to get into all that stuff. But first, we're going to go rogue or go home and just talk about all the latest in pop culture that's going on. I'm going to present to you, Pat, the Ozark challenge. Now, this is going to be exciting, right? We're going to talk about Ozark very briefly. I know it's not necessarily our usual wheelhouse, but I introduced Hassan to Ozark. I said, you got to watch Ozark. It was one of the best pilots I've ever seen. Okay. And season 4 just dropped, which is the last season. I just found out, Hassan, right? Like you said, part 1. I didn't realize it was part 1. It's even better.
Yep.
So Hassan starts talking to me about it, and he didn't realize I never finished Ozark because I don't have a lot of time and I can't digest.
What he means is he manages his time badly.
He does. Actually, I manage my time superiorly because I managed to, get, write a whole bunch of comics and do some artwork and, wife and kids and, not blow my brains out. So, TV, I get like maybe an hour a day.
Jesus.
Which might be fair if you weren't going around telling other people to watch shows you yourself weren't going to be able to watch.
So I got to tell you,
you're the author of that percentage of misery right there.
The thing about Ozark was it was one of the best pilots I ever saw. And I breezed through the first season actually pretty fast.
Yeah.
Season 2.
That's why I followed you through it. And then you were like, I just decided to stop watching. And then I'm like, what? I'm almost finished with it.
Let me explain though. Let me explain why I didn't stop watching. I paused watching. Okay. It was such an emotional roller coaster. Like I was blown. Like the first season was like one of those things where things would happen. You'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. And then season 2 was predictably exactly the same, great, and also full of these like moments where you're like, oh. So by the time season 2 ended, it did end on a cliffhanger. I did want to know what was going to happen next season.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was so emotionally drained from watching the first 2 seasons. Like I can't do it. So I started season 3 like last year, I got through 2 episodes. I'm like, I need to take a little break. It's brilliant. It's wonderful. I don't want my heart to stop every single, beat in succession. I would like to I need some space. And I knew season 4 wasn't coming out until sometime this year. So I knew it. So, Pat, I'm going to give you the Ozark challenge now.
Okay.
Are you going to be able to watch 4 seasons before I finish 4 seasons?
Oh boy. I'd say yeah. I would probably I would start it when part 2 of the final season comes out, and I'll breeze through that bitch easily. Easily.
I know.
Yeah. The emotional and thrilling content that would probably make me want to just keep plowing through instead of stop. I do. I've actually started to watch a lot less TV. Yeah. I mean, maybe I used to watch a lot more TV. I've fallen off a little bit, and I've been playing more games, which is not really my normal, but it's been fun. But I do love long-term storytelling, and Ozark is one that I wanted to watch for a long, long time.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's
absolutely phenomenal.
I can't wait till it's done so I could consume it. I just can't. I can't take it in little doses. I just can't do it. I want the entire story.
That's one of Hassan's major complaints.
Yeah, it's hard to do it. Like Better Call Saul. I loved Breaking Bad. I will not watch a scene from the show until it's done. I will wait until it's done, and then I'll watch El Camino, right? The movie. Okay. I'll watch that, and then I'll watch Better Call Saul, and that'll be my Breaking Bad time.
Got it.
And yeah, I'm gonna obliterate you on that, dude.
Now you got to watch out because I am now. I picked it back up again.
Okay.
He's not gonna beat you to it, but he's just saying.
I am on episode 5 of season 3 now, so I've actually and not only that, Hassan. Not only that, it took me a second to have to remember all the stuff that happened, but once I did, oh man, I was like, oh yeah, now I know. I remember exactly what's going on here.
It was good. Like, yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, no, it's a good show.
Yeah.
Hassan, what did you think of? Spoiler free, please, because I did not choose to watch Book of Boba Fett. What did you think of Book of Boba Fett?
Episode 5.
Yeah,
what we just got.
Yeah,
I thought it was really good.
Because the internet, I guess the internet is ablaze, correct?
Yeah, and if you don't want spoilers, I suggest you stay away from the internet until you see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it tonight. I have it all. I'm all squared away. I mean, I'm actually in quarantine right now. It's exciting. I've been I tested positive over the weekend. I felt like I had a little cold. We were gonna go see some people, like some family members. I said, let me just test to be sure. Turns out, I got the vid. Wife and kids totally negative, which is great. Took the PCRs. They've been going to school. I've been living in my basement. I am essentially back in college now, which is probably why I was able to watch so much Ozark. I've watched at least 2 or 3 episodes of Ozark since I've gotten this. Because what else am I going to do here? I just need a hot plate, and I'm back in college. I'm serious. I got the hot water. We have extra Keurig down here in my office, so that's basically what I've been using for hot water. And I've got it was a Christmas gift from years ago, and dude, I just need a hot plate.
I'm so much more confident now in the Ozark challenge. You just said that you've been locked down there and you watched 2 or 3 episodes.
I gotta work.
Welcome to my world, Pat.
I was in my room
as he brags about like absolutely.
And I'm midway through season 2 of Cobra Kai now too. See, I've been going back and forth.
Minuscule accomplishments in television watching, and he's bragging about it like he's. Like someone should give him a crown. I am going to be through.
I will give myself an Ozark challenge. I will be through most of season 3 by next Wednesday.
That's dude. All right,
you're already halfway. See what I'm saying? That's why I don't even get involved.
Yeah, I mean, I
will be preparing to start.
I'm a black hole.
The finale of season 3.
I got nothing to say about it.
By the time we go wrong. One show that I can't get enough of though, and I watch as soon as it drops, which is every Thursday, is Peacemaker. Now, Pat, you have to. I'm telling you, I know you're not
That's
up on the
what I'm
TV.
talking about. Like that's the kind of like, what do you like? You're dedicated to like one show, and you keep telling everybody it's the greatest show.
Yes,
and then someone else says, "Yeah, but this other show's great." Yeah, I might get to it. So, like, what do you expect? How do you expect people to jump when you say Peacemaker's great? It's not gonna.
Oh my gosh,
not gonna happen.
Did you enjoy? Are you enjoying it, Hassan, or the last episode?
Like I said, it's funny, but it's very mean-spirited humor, and so like, you know, it's a matter of taste. It's acquired, you know, it's acquired taste to watch it.
Now this is a good thing we have Pat on here though, because your thought is that he is doing Joss Whedon better than Joss Whedon, correct?
Yeah, but I've always thought that.
Oh,
that he does Joss Whedon better than Joss Whedon.
That's interesting. I don't see them having a similar voice, but I'm definitely interested in that.
It's quippy, you know, humor with no, you know, every emotional beat is ended with a quip or a piece of humor. And the thing I would say James Gunn does better than Joss Whedon is that the stakes actually make sense. The stakes last.
I mean, I like Gunn. You know, I wasn't as hot on Guardians 1 as everybody else. I thought it was very good. I didn't think it was a classic. Guardians 2, I thought was a good step up. I think both films are really good. I enjoy him. I like his, you know, indie foundation. It's a bit hard for me that it's part of the DC stuff. I know that he has a very different voice than the core DC things, but I've always been very middling on the DC films. I have no strong opinion either way about any of them that I've seen in this universe, and it's annoying for me to go online and hear so much of Zack Snyder being sucked off 24/7 when I think that's a filmmaker that you would have to really struggle to have a strong opinion on.
Okay. Are we at that segment of the show all of a sudden?
Wait,
that's just the typical. That's the norm. Wait, that's the Pat Chan norm.
What did I say?
Strong takes, hot take. Hot.
Oh, that to me is such a middling take. I didn't think
a family show, so you know the whole sucked off thing. You know that's a.
I don't know if we're really a family show. I mean, I don't really.
Yeah,
let my
kids.
You know, like it's a little solidarity, Mike. I'm trying to make a point. Ass. Anyway,
it's true. Actually, it's very true.
Yeah.
Well, we both like Joss Whedon, though. That's why I always tend to side with Pat.
No, I mean,
you know. You guys can like terrible stuff if you want. That's okay. It's all right.
It always feels strange, and we were talking about this a bit off air, to watch something and have a strong positive feeling and go online and see hate. It's a very jarring feeling. It's almost equally jarring to watch something and be like neither here nor there about it, and go online and see just the extremes. People, Batman versus Superman, people hate it so much or formed an entire identity around wanting him to have his vision. Yeah. with Justice League. And it's like, damn, I could watch that and moderately enjoy it and never think about it again. And everyone else is so hard in either direction. So
yeah, it's really strange. It's like kind of like I don't know, like Buffy fans or Whedonites in general, where it's like you see something in passing, you're like, that was kind of amusing. I was all right with it. And then there's these people who are like at an altar worshiping a giant bald head, you know, with the sign Whedon underneath.
You want it to be your bald head they're worshiping.
I don't want anybody. I want no one's worship. I want no one's worship.
I want a statue. You are a statue at some point.
You are dead wrong if you apply that to me. You've never been more wrong in your life to apply that to me.
I think I was saying that more.
No way I want to be worshipped.
If anyone's getting a statue out of the two of us, it's me. No
you can have a statue. I'll have a bulldozer come and deal with that after. You know. But anyway, here's the point. It's like, look, like what he says in that article is pretty true. The internet built them up, and the internet's torn them down. That's life in the big city. You know, if you're going to go around being a hard ass, eventually your hard assness is going to catch up with you. That's all. Make friends, have character. There are people who survive being canceled because they have character. People speak out for them, a la James Gunn, when he was unfairly done over, right? And he had
very
character.
True, actually. Wait, now you think about it. James Gunn and Joss Whedon have not only similar styles in terms of the writing, but they both at some point were canceled. That's
But one has advocates that speak for him, and the other one has people who speak against him.
Yeah,
like in his own comments, and he condemns himself with his own words. It's like, as soon as my wife hit me, I was, they thought I was gettable, and then there was blood in the water. Well, why did they want to? No one made any money off of it. It's not like Charisma Carpenter had a book coming out and she sold a bestseller on tearing him down, right? So look, not to litigate that, and I have no judgment against people who are still devoted fans of his work. I've no issue with that at all. But no one. The funny thing about it is, no one ever denies any of the stories. They're all like, well, they're all varying degrees of whether it matters or whether it doesn't matter, right? It matters too much for some people, and it doesn't matter enough for other people. So that's the real phenomenon about it. No one's really questioning whether any of that stuff actually happened.
I used to honestly think that we were living anytime, because basically social media is just message board culture, which message boards were just as vicious and just as awful,
if not
20
worse.
years ago. I was on a Buffy message board. It was, because I was so addicted to the show. I wanted, again, Pat, same thing. I wanted to celebrate it. I wanted to see what was happening, but you kind of see people just kind of, they take advantage, they bring their misery, or they make themselves feel better about, trolling or tearing other people down. Now it's a mainstream thing. But I used to believe that we're living in the real life, and in the real world they're living, in a fake world. But now I feel like there are literally two worlds now. We have crossed over into the Matrix. We have officially crossed over to the Matrix, where there is now a virtual life that people live, and there are just different rules in that virtual life. And now I still enjoy being in the real world. To your point, Hassan, we were at Wizard when Buffy was at its heyday. And I loved talking to all the folks at Wizard Magazine that were into Buffy too. I loved kind of, geeking out over it, and the type of conversations you can have in person, versus, virtually, where the entire algorithm is designed to make sure that you are butting heads, that you are, tribal folks. I love your response, Pat, where you say people have created whole identities around things. That is this virtual life. We are all being manipulated by algorithms and robots to do exactly that.
Yeah, it's that's very true. These movements tend to trend and pick up steam, and then these sites will use them to keep people scrolling. That's for sure. But I don't know. It's the only thing that I would want to respond to about people having no reason to want to, cancel someone. I think that in this culture, the act of aiming for someone's life and to destroy someone's life and career, I think that in itself is often the end. And just the idea of being able to have that unmitigated joy of feeling righteously angry at someone, even when it's not righteous. Like, for example, the Whedon stuff, neither here nor there. Logan Paul recently, he was trending again, and he's had things in the past that he was legitimately critiqued about, horrible things that he did. This time, this dude took a table, and he made a table where he added that goo that turns into plastic or whatever, and he made a display of his favorite Game Boys, and the internet went apeshit because he destroyed Game Boys. Gamers were infuriated that he destroyed something that could have been used by someone else. And I was reading that, and I was like, as someone who had a Game Boy as a kid, I was like, damn, are Game Boys that hard to come by? That this guy is being critiqued for making a piece of art out of his own Game Boys. And I went on eBay, it's like $25. And, and it's like, people are furious about this. That there are critiques of this with tens of thousands of likes, and I'm just, how do 10,000 people agree? Fuck this guy for making a table out of his own Game Boy.
Jesus.
And
Jesus,
that's
because I mean, all right.
Wait, what? What?
We had I love telling this story. I tell it to everybody. We always have. We had the creator of the toys that made us, Brian Volkway's son, and he's like, "Can I curse?" And I'm like, "We're like, we try not to because we just we want to keep it sort of whatever." And he's like, but I can curse." And I'm like, yeah. I mean, whatever. He just went nuts the entire time. So he is also challenging you, by the way, because he's been on 3 times now. Yeah. But he's definitely the curse king. There's no question about that.
I mean, I didn't even know what you were talking about until you said that. I mean,
I pinged you. That was all I needed to do. Hassan made it a bigger deal than it was.
You guys, this is a podcast.
I didn't do more than a bing myself. I was like, Jesus. Yeah. So that's all I did. You guys not a big deal. You just made a bigger deal explaining it than I did.
Let me ask you a question, Pat. Let me ask you a question.
F off.
Because we've had lots of conversations, and I think this is the point that I like to talk about too.
Yeah.
It seems that in this day and age, again, because it's, even though I'll say there's two separate lives, I don't think it's real life, but the digital world has a very big problem, the virtual world, however you want to call it, with separating art from the artist. Like it almost seems as if everyone has to be like, there's this purity test that you have to pass.
Yes.
And if not, then we can't enjoy your art. I know there's a lot of jerks out there over the years that have made incredible movies, incredible TV shows, incredible music, incredible comics. And I'm always the person that says, yeah, I can live with the fact that I don't agree with this person's political point of views, or that person's a real jerk. But man, that I can separate the two and I can enjoy it. But it seems as if this world can't.
Yeah, the digital world can't. And a major problem, I mean, it's twofold. I think that especially in the comics community, that this is a problem. It's a problem in every community. I think especially in comics. But you have these people who will really jump on critiquing someone for saying or doing something that they themselves were publicly doing not too long ago. And Twitter has all
kind
of
like hoarding paper towels.
Hand sanitizer. Much different.
Yeah. Okay.
Twitter has all the history. These fools aren't even smart enough to delete their own past cancelable tweets while canceling people who were tweeting the exact same way that they were very recently, right?
Because people have no governance on themselves. People actually have no idea their own carbon footprint when it comes to interacting in the social stratosphere. And that's the problem. People are all the heroes of their own story and they're Teflon. And then you find out, it's like, yeah, just dig a little deeper. And obviously, nobody is. Nobody. But that's what I'm talking about. It's like whoever gets you can most likely get them back if you just have a little fortitude and calm, and you could get them. But here's the other thing that I think absolute BS about complaining about this kind of stuff. Not to say that either of you are full of it for complaining. Is, if it's not making you happy, it's not making you happy. There's no problem with that. But what is social media for? People are using social media as a clarion call to attract attention to themselves, either to sell something or to, do some kind of fulfillment, fantasy fulfillment service for themselves or whatever. That's the attention you ordered. If you don't want attention, then don't be on the media.
Yeah. It is the easiest answers to get off it.
And you don't get in trouble. 90% of the people who get in trouble have tweeted something at someone, to weigh in on something.
Well, we've talked about it though. We've talked about there are definitely instances. Kimmy Schmidt. She didn't do anything. Someone literally dragged up a beauty pageant she was in 20 years ago.
Absolutely, that can happen. And then there's a lot more. I mean that's an overcomplicated kind of situation, right? And it requires more delicacy than we as a society attribute to it. So then it just comes out as a hammer. It's a sensitive situation as the times change and people have decided it's sensitive. So I think she handled it very well. You know, in this particular case that we were talking about, however, this had nothing to do with social media. Someone sat down and did an interview and did a hit piece on themselves and destroyed themselves in the midst of the hit piece.
To recap what we talked about last week, though, too, I mean, it was definitely curious timing. You know, the article
doesn't matter. I mean,
in the spring. I mean, there was definitely things that aided in this for sure.
Yeah, but he said what he said. He did what he did.
Sure. Yeah.
And he didn't have to do any of it. He didn't have to do anything. You don't have to do any of that stuff. I don't understand anybody who comes along and thinks, okay, like if you call yourself a feminist, male feminist, then saying, well, she didn't understand me correctly because she doesn't speak, you know, that's English is her second language. That is more derogatory. That is not only regionally derogatory and culturally derogatory, but it's also completely dismissive. It's borderline sexist in the fact that he's a man dismissing a woman who just didn't understand that he wasn't insulting her. She just didn't get it. It's a gaslight. Now, how do you not know that that's gaslighting? You know, like, how do you not have the awareness? Even if you believe it, how do you not have awareness of the medium that you are operating in to know that this is not going to get you out of whatever you're trying to dig yourself out of? That's a complete lack of awareness. Like, if you said, like, if you and I were talking, Mike, about something, and you said, yeah, I'm going to do this. If I didn't say, I don't think you should do that, you know, then I wouldn't be helping you. Like, if we like you got to run it by people. Someone else can say, I just think that's a bad look. Maybe you don't do that, you know, or maybe you leave it alone. People were satisfied that he was sort of a despicable human being, but that's just the way life goes. And that thing, the swelling had gone down, and he was like, it's an addiction. He had to come back to get another, you know, to get more attention. And he didn't care whether it was positive or negative. He just wanted attention. That's the strangest thing to me. It's like, if you're out of it, then stay out. If you're out, stay out. You're rich. You could do 100. Don't tell me.
We don't know.
Can't do
we don't know. We don't know what his finances are.
Yeah, but don't tell me he wouldn't have been able to do 100 things behind the scene. He's better off than the three of us put together, right? It combined. He's better.
You know what's in Pat's pocket? Don't reach into Pat's wallet.
I'm just talking about influence-wise, like industry influence-wise. He's better off than the three of us combined. He in his state right now could start a YouTube channel and have like 50 million subscribers to that, and you can make a decent income off of that, off of just people hating you, making a video going beep beep boop all day long. All right, I'm not kidding. You could. There's.
I know you're not kidding.
His name recognition will open doors that will not open for the three of us. Just by at this stage in our careers.
At this stage, though, I think his name is so toxic that I don't know how he would. I don't know how.
His name is publicly toxic. It's really weird. Like, a lot of people. I don't know if it's down to racial lines though, but everybody I've seen have a take on this. All the white guys think that he's done for good. He's doomed, and all the black guys are like, "Nah, he'll be back. He'll be back in about 3 years. He'll be back." You know.
Let me ask you a question though.
Like Mel Gibson, he'll lay low long enough, and then he'll just come back up, and he'll do something spectacular.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question though, and I'm gonna take away the Cosby Show. I think the Cosby Show is usually that example that people tend to use, but I think it's actually a bad example when it comes to the separating art from the artist, because he was convicted of an actual crime and he was an actual criminal. The people who you find out were just mean people, or were kind of dicks, or just not very nice people. Does that impact, you know, how you watch Buffy going forward? Like, for me, it's not going to. I'm still going to revere Joss Whedon's X-Men run because I thought it was amazing, and I'm still going to revere Buffy as a show and revere him as a creative person. I don't know about him as a personal person now. You know, I definitely have reservations about that, but I'm able to separate the two.
Yeah.
Well, I never liked his work anyway.
No, I know you didn't, but I'm
all right.
I'm using him as an example. We have other examples as well too. But go ahead, Pat.
I mean, first, I do want to chime in on what Hassan said about.
No, answer the question first, because you're going to forget the answer to the question.
No.
Before you go on to your tirade, answer the question first.
I don't have a tirade. I want
to. Damn it, man! Damn it, do as I say.
I mean, I was gonna agree with you.
Proceed.
I was just gonna say
bad for the show, though. Bad for the show.
No, he can agree with me. I can't agree with you. That's how it works.
Oh, correct. You're
Come
right,
on, dude.
Nope, you're right. I stand corrected.
I do think that Hassan is correct, and we've observed this happen, that people who have this kind of a controversy can come back on YouTube or Patreon and monetize people who want to either quietly support them or even hate watch them. The attention that comes doesn't have to be positive. Joss, I think, can come back, but it's going to be in a way that people are going to largely hate watch him right now. So that
it would be ugly.
Yeah,
it would be ugly. I was just saying that in the sense that he wouldn't starve. It would be ugly, but if and it actually takes guts to be willing to be hated like that just to make a buck, right?
Yeah.
But he could do it. You and I probably wouldn't get as many subscribers as he would get, so we couldn't do it. It'd be hard work for us to get to the level.
Well, okay, that I guess that's the best point. It would be hard work for us.
Yeah.
It's harder. Yes.
But for him, it would be just a matter of, hey, Joss Whedon's got to. I mean, by the time you found out about it, he would be up 1 million subscribers already, because everybody would just be interested in, well, what's he going to say next?
Yes. I mean, the perfect example of it is, I think that I don't want to comment on anything that he said in the article or anything about him, because I don't want to lean into that beast.
Sure.
Someone who I can comment on, who I think that we can objectively say has done worse things, is Kevin Spacey. And I'll tell you this.
Correct.
He has made a video at the end of the year, every year. And this year, people were trending, had his name trending, saying, where is it? So those people hate Kevin Spacey, and they would watch the video.
Yeah.
He was trending because he didn't do the video, right? So I think that's the perfect example of, no matter what you do, if you reach a certain level of fame, people will watch. And as far as my experience, to answer the question, when it comes down to work, and I'll even broaden it beyond Joss Whedon's work, because we're in this era where it's going to be hard to find someone who hasn't had a major controversy in this era. It's going to happen to everybody. Because now we're dealing with people, actors, writers, who were 10 years old and on Twitter, and now they're adults. People are going to dig on them. It would take a lot to get someone to have me stop watching a show I love, or to have me change my opinion about a show I love. Buffy, I enjoy unreservedly still. There are certain aspects of Buffy that have aged poorly outside of Joss Whedon's life,
which we'll get to next segment.
Yes, something like this.
I'm looking forward to that.
It also depends. It depends very much too on what the work is and what the person did. Normally, I think it's very easy to separate it. Say, for example, if Joss Whedon showed up behind you two somehow at the same time and murdered you two at the same time, I have a very hard time watching Buffy again. I'll be traumatized, right? You killed,
right? Cosby Show.
Have to be impressed.
Cosby Show is a good example. I can't watch Cosby Show and watch it the same way.
Right.
You'd have to be impressed with how he was able to be in two places at the same time.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
So I mean, that level of fascination might actually help you continue to observe. Trust me.
I'll probably watch YouTube clips, but not full episodes anymore. But say David Chase, who created Sopranos, or Alan Ball, who created 6 Feet Under, did that, I might have a hard time not watching again, just because those are shows that I think have aged a bit better, because they're less in the fantasy realm, and they try to do less things that have aged visually poorly. And those stories, Buffy has always meant a lot to me, but as I grow older, the dramas that have really stayed with me through the ages probably stay with me a bit more than Buffy, even though I still have a deep affection for Buffy. The more I watch it too, I love what I love more, and I am a bit more clear too on what I don't like now that I've been, around and I've seen it for so long. But say, for example, like we were talking about James Gunn. I like James Gunn. I think that he makes, good work. I think if it was revealed that, James Gunn will sometimes, take his little Tesla out and just like find an old lady and make sure no one's looking, and that I might have a hard time.
Was Louis C.K. if he was Louis C.K., you mean?
Oh, I mean,
that's where I thought he was going with it also. And the irony, of course, to that is the fact that James Gunn, the reason he was canceled was for poor taste joke on Twitter that alluded to something.
Many poor taste
or
jokes.
many
years
poor
ago.
taste jokes. Yes,
a decade ago.
That's different too. That makes me want to watch.
Those jokes were funny 10 years ago, though. They haven't aged well.
James Gunn makes me want to watch his stuff more to support him, because I feel that you should be able to joke about anything. And the idea of a joke being a weapon to use against someone, I think is a very toxic idea.
It's a one-sided take, though.
Why?
It's a one-sided take. Because, okay, if you should be allowed to joke however you want, then surely the people should be allowed to react however they want to the joke you told.
I agree.
And if part of that is public ostracization, and that has been facilitated by the social media, which everybody, like I keep saying, it's like, drinking bleach cleans you out, and it happens to kill you, but people swear by this drinking bleach thing, right? That's social media. Social media is the drinking bleach. It's the most expedient way for me to clean myself out, but it also kills me, right?
Yeah.
If you don't use the tool properly, or if you allow the tool to overrun you, then it's gonna come and get you.
Yes. But
all right. So that's the attention. It's all an attention getting thing, right? If you want that attention, then the problem is you attracted the attention of everybody who either good or bad actors out there. Everybody's got the same bomb, and they're all going to either use it for you or against you. And it's a percentage game.
Here's that's exactly why what you just said at the end, percentage. That's why I don't feel that what I've said is a one-sided take, because I take into account that what we see, the backlash to James Gunn, is a very small percentage of people think that way. People in real life, the people who are spending money on these things, the backlash specifically against James Gunn, forget the rest. That isn't representative of what the normal person who buys tickets and actually supports content, art, they don't think that way. Largely is what I feel. I feel that companies are making a decision based on what a very small, very niche, very loud percentage of people think. For example, to widen it now to the Kickstarter blockchain thing, which will,
we'll talk about it. We got a lot of show today. A lot of stuff to talk.
Just one point on that ties into this. Look on Twitter, blockchain outrage. Ask a person in real life what blockchain is.
Yeah, you're and that distinction works, but it doesn't work in the milieu of social media. We are discussing the.
Well, what he's saying though, I agree. He's saying that social media is a microcosm of what the actual percentages of reaction is.
Yeah, he's saying it doesn't really exist in real life.
Yeah,
and so that's why social media. But of course, it doesn't. That's not even in question.
No. Yes, it is. The reason I said that was because you said that my take was a one-sided take. When all I was saying was that I support James Gunn and want to see his stuff more, because a company thought that they could base his career trajectory based off of Twitter. That is a real-life application of social media to a person's life.
But he lost his job in real life. Like, it does have real life ramifications.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
It's not like we miscalculate and then it doesn't. We think something terrible is going to happen, and it doesn't. Things do happen because of social media.
That's my exact point.
What do you guys think out there? It's a great debate, great topic. Can you separate art from the artist? Does it, is all the stuff we talked about? Put it in the comment feed, put it in the chat. We will respond to it. When we come back next, we are going to discuss a guest rogue rage from Pat Shand, articles that have not aged, or articles that have aged poorly. I want to get it exactly right when we come back. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. Just a reminder, go to roguematter.com. We got a lot of great free content on the site for you to read. The Seal of Fire, Exile is the latest novel by James Massia, cover by Hassan Godwin. It is up right now, and you can read the whole thing for free. Everything on Rogue Matter is free. Free to read.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, they paid us to do it, but it's free for people to read. It's crazy. What a world. I don't know how we're going to be around for much longer, but that's not my concern at this point. My concern is to give you the best quality content I can. And by doing that, we welcome Pat Shand, because Pat Shand is just phenomenal and always opinionated. So we do this as a segment. It's called Rogue Rage. Now, it was Hassan Godwin's Rogue Rage, but now we've decided to expand it, and by we, I mean me, to a guest Rogue Rage for you.
Yeah, it was mine, and it wasn't even discussed with me whether or not someone else could use it. So
no, I'm very sorry.
Let me give some backstory.
Hassan Godwin's anything apparently.
Let me give some backstory to. Well, actually, it was the suits. The higher ups were like, drop the Hassan Godwin's Rogue Rage. Just make Rogue Rage. they put the hands down there. No, I'm just kidding. I saw a post from you on social media, and it really hit, and it was. Look, Screen Rant has one good thing going for it, which is the pitch meeting YouTube. Shout out to Victoria Bennett for cluing me in on the pitch meeting YouTube channel, which is fantastic and amazing. They write these articles, and another friend had clued me in on one of these articles, and it's blah 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 10 things that have aged poorly about said TV show. And this is the one that you kind of ranted on, and I got to tell you, I couldn't agree more, and it was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, 10 things about Buffy that have aged poorly. So you can go to Screen Rant and you can check that out. We're going to quote them. And let me list off a couple of these, and then I'm going to hand it off to you for a composite rage. One, that she's self-centered. This apparently has aged poorly. That you cannot have a self-centered character.
Right.
She literally ditched everyone in her life. I guess that's okay. Emotional distance with her friends. Yes. You cannot have an emotionally distant person. While that sort of distance between people is natural and happens, Buffy still ends up dragging her friends into various villain fights. It just ends up reading like friendship that doesn't mean as much to her.
Yeah.
Mocking the first Slayer's dreads. Can't do that. Black and white morality. That has aged poorly. You cannot have black and white morality. Humans good, demons bad. That was the number one, which I thought was interesting. In most media since Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there tends to be a greater push for nuance in that regard. Humans in many of these shows can be worse than monsters. Additionally, these monsters can be great heroes and allies. With that, Buffy seems almost prejudiced in her belief that all demons are bad. And
that was actually a common theme in Buffy, that was the case, that the demons were actually morally gray and that humans were often bad. But quite a list. What it feels like is this, and this is why I picked this one. I actually don't enjoy talking about Buffy so much anymore online because, I worked at Zenescope for years, and Zenescope is a comic company where almost every popular series stars a female warrior who lives in this kind of like fantasy version of the real world, and it's hard to write so much of that and not draw comparisons to Buffy. And being a fan of Buffy, the topic would come up so often, and I would talk about it, and it became a thing that everywhere I would go, people would see that I had written on the Angel comic and that I had talked about Buffy before and that I was writing a female character, and the conversation would always go back to Buffy. So now that I am doing my own creator-owned stuff, I try to not talk about it as much because I want to, be seen as someone who likes a lot of different shows, But this one I couldn't not comment on because I've been talking a lot about this, about how the current trend online is to critique writing, not for a flaw in the writing, but for a character doing something that is not moral or that they would see as like an asshole move. They'll critique the actual writer for a thing a character chooses to do that they disagree with, right? Here, this list reads as if it's someone who Buffy knows in her personal life saying that's a bad friend. She's aged poorly. She's a bad friend. Most of that list doesn't comment on the actual writing. It doesn't say, for example, you know what aged poorly about Buffy? The fact that they had a budget of $5 and put a giant snake in the season 3 finale. Such a horrible idea. Looks like garbage now. Looked like garbage then, right? Mm-hmm. Ages worse every single year. You know what doesn't age poorly? A character being an asshole. That's just the character in the story being an asshole for the storyline. That's not something that ages poorly. And it just this moral purity that characters have to abide by now. It's just so strange to me. It's anti-art.
Hassan, your as the previous owner of the Rogue Rage segment, what do you think?
Ain't touching that one.
I mean, it would be like this.
I mean, anti-art. I mean, come on. All right.
You know what I is?
Never mind.
He's and it's funny as I'm the one that wanted to talk about this, so I am.
You go.
I'm incriminating myself by saying this. This is the very definition of clickbait. This is the very definition of it used to be, and we've talked about this before. If you wanted to pick up a newspaper and you wanted to say, I'm going to give you my money.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually make a transaction based off of the content. You used to have to just come up with one headline, maybe two if they flip the back page. If you have like the Post or the Daily News, which had a front page and a back page, most other newspapers like the Times or San Francisco Chronicle, Miami Herald, it would be just whatever the top byline is. That's what would get you to read the paper. Was one clickbait, quote unquote, before there was clickbait, before there was clicking. Now we live in an internet where every single article has to be the headline of a newspaper. It is on every single minute. There are literally writers churning out these clickbait titled articles with the express purpose. It's almost kind of like what Zenescope would do, where they would put a beautiful woman on the cover, but the actual storylines inside had nothing to do with the salaciousness of it. But again,
it's
magnified.
Not clickbait, it's rage bait.
Magnified. Yes, magnified
to get triggered
by the millions. Yes, and so now. We end up giving it the time of day, which is what its sole purpose was. However, to agree with you, I think that the generation that has now grown up with clickbait has now become warped by what is I think essentially clickbait. I don't know the way to describe it. It's they've adopted this mindset online to mirror the content that they are constantly being fed now.
And we warp them.
For me though, it's the morality of it.
Totally.
It's the way that it comments on morality and not the actual content of the story. That's a trend beyond the clickbait.
They don't know how to tell stories, so they don't know how to dissect stories.
That's the problem.
The problem is there's too few actual creators who are doing any of the commentary, and it's all being left up to these people. And these people are misinterpreting things or interpreting it their own way or taking them either way too seriously or not seriously enough.
Yeah.
And we are letting them run wild with all this speculative fiction because it makes a lot of people money. It's all over the place. It's run rampant. It is what it is. But I mean, like I said, when you misuse the tool, But it's the stare at the abyss thing, right? We're all still using this tool. You're still there.
Yeah.
Rage reading about how people are misinterpreting Buffy. All right. But you're still participating in it.
Well, you cannot participate when it's part of the culture, and it's a trend beyond clickbait.
Now you're helpless. Like you're saying, you're helpless. No. You're defenseless against it.
No, that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying that talking about how that is not a valid critique of art is itself engaging with that in a way that will show other people that other people see what they see, that they agree that this is not valid critique of art. It'll be, who's
to say it's not a valid? If art is not, if there is no definable parameters to art, then there can't be any definable parameters to critiquing art.
No, that's not true.
Okay, explain how it's not true.
It's not true because you cannot say something.
You can't tell me what I can.
Hey. Let's see. I want to know where this goes.
The perfect way to do it is an example. There is something that culturally, as a group, someone of sound mind can look at a critique and see if it is an actual valid critique. For example, I gave a very silly example, but it's real. That this article, it goes beyond Buffy. Hassan, you don't like Buffy. Mike, you do. That part doesn't matter, and we're getting caught up in that in this entire podcast. What I'm talking about is the actual validity of the critique. My example was Simba in the Lion King. This is an article. Who
decides who's of sound mind, though?
Hang on. Simba, Lion King.
I'm just because I'm stuck on.
Well, let me give his example and then answer that.
The amount of points that I've lost because I've been interrupted by Hassan is so crazy. It's so crazy. But the point I was making. No. I mean, in all my stays, you are interrupter in chief. But
fair enough.
But
I'll wear it.
This article would be as if, say someone was saying what didn't age well about the Lion King, and a bullet point: Simba was a real jerk to Zazu when he's saying, "I just can't wait to be king." He was mean to him. That most people can read that and say that isn't a valid critique of the storytelling. That's someone not liking a character as if they want to be their friend in real life. That's what this article is. And that's why it's anti-art, because it doesn't treat the show as a piece of fiction. It treats the character as if they're a buddy in real life. And that is not a valid critique. And the reason it is because people can see that generally in mass and see that it isn't about the story. It's about a person who doesn't exist in real life.
Usually I'll let the dead air. Usually I'll interrupt the dead air, but I'm kind of letting the dead air kind of settle.
You're saying, okay, people can't react to the actual actions of the character in a story because that's not definable as the story. That's just an element of the story, right? No. And so reacting to, well, I'm asking, like, hold on. Are you interrupting me?
No, but I'm saying wrong?
No. Wait. Let's let Hassan go. Now, see, this is good. This is why I have Pat on. I don't have to do anything. No. Moderate.
Here is a form of interrupting. You ask a question. You're saying this. You're saying to me, you're saying this. And then without hearing my response, yes or no, you're moving on to say what I said in a way that doesn't reflect what I actually said.
When you said no, I redefine. I worked to redefine the question.
Okay.
But you were continuously telling me no, so I couldn't get my question out.
Okay.
So, all right, forget that. What exactly is the problem with the critique? Like, if you're saying that criticizing Simba for being a bad friend because he's singing the song "I Can't Wait to Be King,"
right,
is a bad critique of the story, The Lion King, because isn't that just what I said, that people are concentrating on the elements of a character as opposed to the overall narrative, and that's a bad critique? Isn't that just what you said?
No. You said that my point is that people can't react to what a character does. Now, what a character does is part of the story. That's part of the entire arc, which you can critique. You can say it wasn't interesting that this person did this. What you can't say as a valid critique is this doesn't fit in this culture because the character is bad to her friends. That's what this article is saying. Buffy aged poorly because Buffy is a bad friend. That isn't part of the story.
But who says that they're critiquing parts of the story?
The article.
No,
Is it defined as part of the story, or is it defined as something about the story that's aged badly? Are they saying Buffy aged badly, or are they saying things about Buffy that aged badly?
Well,
these are elements that have aged poorly as pertains.
The elements that they're saying aged poorly are the actions of the character, and not the actual story.
This is ridiculous because
what?
We're arguing over whether or not being a bad friend has aged poorly. That's a ridiculous idea. Do you have friends who are bad in real life?
I get what you're saying.
Why do we not tell stories about things that reflect the real life?
You're looking at it monolithically. That's the problem.
How?
Because you're looking at it as there is only one way to look at these things, and the way you're looking at it is wrong. That's basically what you're saying. Like what you're taking away from this, this is you saying this to a critic. What you're taking away from this is the wrong thing. You're taking this element that you're taking from it is incorrect, and you should be taking it as a whole. And you can't tell someone how they're supposed to react to something. That's not. You can. You know what? You can do it till you're blue in the face, but it doesn't make you any more right than they are.
Yes, it does, because I am a writer, and I can say it's dangerous to live in a society where people say you can't depict characters in a manner that depicts complexity, that you can't depict someone who's the protagonist doing something bad. It's as if this is insane that we're even talking about this.
Well, the problem is you're taking one article and deciding that is how society feels about everything. We're just the previous segment.
There's a lot of articles, though. There are. I mean, there's the Seinfeld one. I thought that was kind of hilarious because everything, 10 things about Seinfeld that aged poorly, and all of the things they list. Posing as a Nazi. That aged poorly because making light of the Nazis is making light of such a hateful organization might not sit well with modern audiences. The whole point of the joke was
but I mean, but previously, the previous segment, everybody just said that none of social media really means anything, and Pat's assertion, all in and of itself, was that 90% of the population doesn't even pay attention to this stuff on social media.
But we also did say though that it's now creeping into real life. Like it is now forming opinions of a generation because they're growing up. That 22% that's on Twitter, which was a stat that we didn't actually give last segment. We gave it off air. I think the majority of those people are young people. So
I think the previous observation was wrong. That it doesn't encompass the real world. That it is now becoming the real world means that it's creeping in. So then that observation is incorrect.
No, but I said that I used to believe we lived in two worlds, or I used to believe that social media and the internet didn't exist. That this is quote unquote real life, but now I think there are two unique worlds, and I think they are battling each other. I think they are influencing each other. So to Pat's point, which I do agree with, is that by shaping a culture in saying that the fiction that we write, has to also pass this moral purity that we've somehow given on to our creators, it's going to leave us with very poor art. Now, to your point, Hassan, you're right. You can't really critique someone's critique. People can feel any which way they want to, but we're allowed to say, I think this is wrong. I didn't
say you can't. I'm not the one saying that you can't. You can't have a reaction to something. But I'm just saying that the demand to react a certain way is just as fallible as the demand to make art fit in a certain box.
Am I still on the show?
You're there.
All right, so my reaction,
man, you just gotta be assertive, man. Just kick your way in.
I don't want to interrupt, though.
You gotta. Welcome to Rogue Matter, man.
Oh man, I'm gonna. This is Hassan. This is gonna go in one of those boxes that I call up. Very very often. Go ahead.
All right, so here's my issue. Just with this. I feel like we keep coming back to this point where when we talk about Twitter. Hassan, you say that this is just the nature of the beast, and that if we react to something that we're saying is just in that small percentage of Twitter, that we're giving it validity. I don't agree. I don't think that critiquing something that is a Twitter critique is bringing it into the real world. I think that is what I'm doing when I take one of these articles and say, this isn't indicative of valid criticism. What I'm doing is reminding other people who are on the platform that we're not all absolutely insane. That's what I'm doing.
It's a good way to put a bow on this segment. What do you guys think? Are we not insane? Are we insane? We got plenty of stuff to react to in that. When we come back, we're gonna do a Spin the Racks Space Between Entertainment, which happens to be Pat's company. See?
It's true. It's true.
It's weird how that worked out. We're
That's
gonna
me.
spotlight some of the cool books that he's got going on that you guys should be reading when we come back. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. We love this segment. It's called Spinning the Racks. It talks about the comics we think you should be reading.
Spin the rack, spin that rack.
I wanted to give Pat the full experience here. See, he gets, gets to spin the rack. That's the intro segment. I mean, I think that's the sole reason I brought this segment back, just for the intro. I love it. I love it so much.
The duck took me off guard.
What duck? What are you talking about?
Spinning the racks. Wah, wah, wah.
Oh, the wah wah wah. Okay, I love it. All right, Space Between Entertainment. That is your company. That is, you are mainly a Kickstarter brand company as well too.
Yeah. We we would do other stuff. We've produced certain things out of that, and we paired with Black Mask to do the single issues of Destiny New York. But most of what you'll see from us is, I think Kickstarter first is how we say it first.
Very cool and very successful on Kickstarter. I might add. Let's do this. Let's go through a couple of books that you got coming out in the next couple months that people should be reading, and we'll throw some images up on screen as we do it.
Yeah. So
Prison Witch.
Yes, Prison Witch Volume 3, the final volume that launches on Kickstarter on February 8th. That is next Tuesday. It's a series that I co-write with my wife Amy. It's about a witch in prison. Well, when we first start the series in volume 1, she feels that she is possessed by a demon. She doesn't know about witchcraft, but she meets a coven of witches while in jail that show her the truth of what this violent spirit in her may be. And this new volume, if you've been reading the series, she's a member of the coven, and it's this this trilogy that we've put work into for the past 4 years that we're now concluding. And yeah, we kind of pictured as Orange is the New Black meets The Craft.
Very cool. Gangsta Ass Barista, which I actually I'm a big fan of Prison Witch. I like that book, and I like Gangsta Ass Barista as well. Talk about that.
Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, Gangsta Ass Barista, that's a spin-off of Destiny New York, but it can be read by anyone who hasn't read the title as well. It's a coffee-fueled crime thriller. It is a comedy as well. It's about a former gangster who gets a job at the coffee shop. She's trying to, make ends meet by selling coffee instead of robbing and killing. And she finds herself kind of at a clash when someone from her past comes and brings a bit of
pulls her back into that world.
Yeah, back into her life. Yeah. So that one is now on Etsy. That launched on Etsy.
Oh, wow.
I've been building an Etsy store, that if you support the Kickstarter or see my books, single issues in the DM, you can now go to Etsy and purchase the trade as well.
Very cool. And Vampire Emmy and Garbage Girl.
Yes, that actually, I Kickstarted that last year. The trade paperbacks have finally come out. They've been stuck at port. The printing issue in comics is crazy right now. They've been at port idling since November. So finally, yesterday, the books are in hand. They're being shipped out. So if you backed Vampire Emmy, you're getting that soon. And if you didn't back, it's going to be on Etsy next month in time for Valentine's Day.
Very, very cool. Now, one thing you have a newsletter as well too, which I subscribe to, I enjoy.
Yeah.
And again, something else that you posted into Ether about the comic book community's reaction to Kickstarter going to the blockchain. Now, for folks out there, we're going to have a blockchain expert on in the next couple weeks, and he's an NFT expert. He's been on the show before. He's actually a Bitcoin expert. He's a good friend of mine I went to college with, who has a massive following. So he's going to explain more of this stuff, like the technology behind it. But Josh Blaylock, of all people, from Devil's Due, explained this all to me because I had no idea what the blockchain was in terms of creating comics and how it can all kind of be tied together. But apparently Kickstarter now is moving the technology of their site to blockchain. I don't know. I don't even know how they do that. I don't even know what that means. I do web development. I don't even know what that means. Do you have any clue what that means?
My understanding is that, and it's a very, very, probably Josh will hear this and think that I'm such a fool for even trying to do this. But what I think it is, it's taking the information that is currently on one sort of massive computer from a website and putting it on multiple computers. So
that sounds about right from what I understand from blockchain.
Yeah. And about Kickstarter, the funny part about their announcement is that, and they shouldn't have announced it, I'll give them that, but they announced that they're looking into blockchain. That was the announcement. Yeah.
And that obviously pissed off so many people, but I have no idea why.
Yeah, it's funny. It I think that a topic that we hit on a couple of times this night, I do think, Hassan, that what you say about Twitter is valid, that when you engage, that you are, you should know what to expect there. And I have asked myself, is it stupid to continue to be on Twitter when I hate it, when it's when it makes people, in my opinion, behave in a way that I hate? However, I think that my current take is that it's important to remind people that not everyone is like this and that most people aren't like this, because most of these, and again, in my opinion, most of the rage is there's a small group and then there's a bigger group, and the bigger group is afraid to not tie into the small group because they think that they're going to have their lives destroyed. And people were scared to talk about Kickstarter. People were scared to say, hey, wait. Why are you critiquing Kickstarter about considering blockchain on Twitter, who has announced that they're going to be implementing blockchain and NFTs? People were saying, what if this is Kickstarter about to use NFTs on Twitter, which is openly already tying into blockchain and using NFTs? It's insanity. And I think that
my head hurts just thinking about what you just said.
You haven't explained you haven't really gone into depth about the blockchains, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. So,
right.
You're using a term in a language that probably a lot of people listening aren't going to understand what the.
But we tried to explain it. No, he literally did. I'm telling you, I actually have a cursory knowledge of it, and what he did jives with what my understanding of what it is. That being said, I still don't even know what the heck it is.
Right.
I really don't know. I really don't. And I've been a web programmer for 20 years.
That's my exact point. What you just said, Hassan, is my exact point. It's a thing that most people, one, don't know about, and two, don't understand even if they know the concept. And most of the rage on Twitter were comics people that were saying things along the lines of, Kickstarter is terrible for using blockchain. We must stop using blockchain. Does anyone know what blockchain is?
Well, they were also saying we need to stop using Kickstarter now. I'm like, I guess it's time for Kickstarter to end. And there was an article on the Beat website too, which I follow, and same thing. There was a negative reaction to this announcement. But meanwhile, I was just like you. I was kind of, I don't know. I don't understand. Does it have to do with the carbon footprint because the amount of energy it takes?
Yes.
To produce any of this stuff, Bitcoin, NFTs, all this stuff, is that what people are raging about?
in part, it's an amorphous rage. That's part of it. The other part is the idea that blockchain is where NFTs are hosted, and people have been talking about how the idea of something that is digital but isn't for everyone is exclusionary and is problematic. It's a whole thing, and it's such an inside baseball thing that for people who don't understand it, like me, to be basing their future support for a creator on this thing that they're openly saying that they don't understand, that to me, that's immoral. And
Hassan, can we make an NFT?
Oh boy,
we should be cashing in on this, right?
oh boy.
Is there a Rogue Wave NFT? What if there's a digital version of Hassan? Just we'll make Hassan like an NFT. Can I make you an NFT? Can we cash money this?
My overall point there was that
Please continue.
I'm serious. We should. Why are we not capitalizing on this, Hassan?
I'm trying to understand what he's talking about.
Oh, okay.
yeah, my overall point is that aside from what exactly blockchain is, the fact of the matter is we have an industry of people who openly don't understand what it is, condemning a platform for using a thing that they don't understand that affects indie creators. That to me shows a lack of empathy. If there were experts, what's so funny?
I don't understand. I'm sorry that the laugh was callous. It was the callous laugh. I don't get it. It's like, you do realize that we are an illiterate country. And
Yeah, but
most
why-
of the
why do
people
you
who are
keep-
illiterate are the writers. You know,
Yeah.
like every industry is falling into moral decay.
Right.
It's like to and so like that doesn't justify, that doesn't excuse Twitter. But I mean, stay away from Twitter.
No. Why do you think that we should leave something to its own vices instead of talking about it? That's the
For
recurring
your own
thing
sanity.
that every time. But I don't care about my sanity. I care about my industry. I care about showing people like me that
Yeah,
this
but-
isn't how we all think.
But you cannot be there. You cannot be arguing about the morality of something and the right or wrong way of doing things, and then telling people who are using it that they're using it wrong. It's
Yes, I
not.
can.
It's the same. It's the same rigidness, though. It's the same myopathy that you're.
Well,
accusing
okay.
other
No,
people
no,
for
What
having.
if
No,
he's
it's
not
not.
saying just to
No,
throw
it's
this in?
not.
What if what you're saying is not you're using it wrong or you're doing it wrong, but that there's actual damage being done,
That's what I'm saying.
But
right?
you're
Is
not
that-
saying that.
Well,
Yes,
no,
I
but
am.
that's what I'm hearing.
Yes,
Actually,
I am.
so is that a better interpretation of what you're
Well,
saying?
That's not what I'm
Yes.
hearing. You
Okay,
know, and you
no, that's-
needed an
and that's fair.
interpreter to say it.
No,
So-
no. Hassan, I feel like there's a filter of I don't care what Pat is saying, and two, I'm so ready to be the guy who disagrees that you're misinterpreting to an extreme extent every point that I make. I feel like I've not
Welcome
been
to
able to
Rogue
get
Wave.
off one single point that hasn't had a counter that I think, what is he even talking about? I don't even know how to respond to your response of my critique because it's so far from what I'm even talking about.
Well, I think what you were talking about was that you were talking about not necessarily that people are reacting incorrectly or in a wrong fashion, but that the way they are reacting has detrimental impact. You know, so bashing, and again, this is my interpretation of it.
Yeah.
So
That's
you
what
know,
I think.
no,
that
I'm not.
most
I'm not.
people
I'm
will
not
hear.
on.
Yeah.
So you know, to Hassan's point, if he's not hearing what you're saying, then
Yeah.
you know that is what it is, right? Then that's where the critiques might, you know, that's where the conversation might have veered off into a different direction.
I mean, what I
that's-
just don't
that's
get.
in Hassan's defense as well too.
Well, what I don't get is that Hassan, you seem to hate Twitter, but every time that I'll say I hate Twitter too, your answer is, well, what they say is valid too. When I'm just agreeing with you as well about a specific thing.
I'm pointing out the futility of using a tool that you say is being misused and is destructive.
Yes,
That's what I'm
but-
saying. And then in my other point is that your methodology, I believe, is just as destructive as the misuse of Twitter.
What is my
So-
methodology?
your methodology of telling people that they're critiquing things incorrectly, that they're seeing things, that they're being judgmental of the wrong things.
But why is that bad? Why can't we give an opinion?
Well, to Hassan's point, that is the same thing. In
Mike,
a way, that's the same thing that's being done. Yeah,
I got it.
Okay.
You're reacting to an opinion with an opinion,
right?
But then you're saying that my reaction to your opinion is I'm taking you all wrong. But I'm just saying there's no right or wrong way to see things. That's the problem. And in your attempt to curtail how people are seeing things, or how people are dissecting things or dismantling things to be displayed on Twitter, you're basically showing the same rigidness and inflexibility as you claim that they are.
Well,
just for the opposite viewpoint. But in this case, in the opposite viewpoint.
What I feel that I'm doing is asking for nuance and empathy in a place where that is rare to find. I think that when you look at something in a certain way, I think it's okay to look at something that is rigid and to say it's wrong to be rigid. What it sounds like is you're saying it's wrong to be rigid is wrong because you're being rigid.
No. Here's what I'm saying. You're saying you want empathy.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You cannot inspire empathy by rigidly telling someone that they're not empathizing correctly. That's not you showing empathy. You're not showing their point of view any empathy. Is my point.
Well, why would
and
you?
So now you're coming in to you're coming in too hot, basically, in trying to curtail the way people are disseminating the information.
That's hot takes are good for the show, though. Good for the show.
What's specifically is no. I feel that my opinion is very moderate here. What specifically have I said that you feel lacks empathy?
I don't think we're gonna solve this in this.
Plus, we're running out of time.
I don't think that we're really talking about anything. Is what it is. I think that
I still don't know what blockchain is. All is said and done.
That's the point that no one really does. I mean, Josh is going to come here and he's going to have a base of knowledge. But my point isn't that people are just wrong in their opinion. My point is that it's not a nice thing to do to look at a company that say if they were destroyed, say if Kickstarter was destroyed, that affects indie creators, right? People jumped on Kickstarter with no understanding of what they were actually saying. And on the same Twitter account, they would say, congratulate a friend who got a job writing a Marvel title. Marvel is owned by Disney. Disney does things that same person would look at and say, wow, that's evil. That's bad. They have their own impact. For that person to then condemn Kickstarter and people using it while using that same account to congratulate someone working for Disney, that I feel is unempathetic. And I don't think
hypocritical is more what you're saying.
Hypocritical is sure, but I'm really doubling down on the empathy part. It's not thinking of the people affected by what you're saying. And I think that I don't think it's unempathetic for me to call out a lack of empathy. I don't get it.
I love it. We've digested so much. My head hurts. It's not from the quarantine either. What do you guys think? Chime in next week. Well, I don't know what we're going to do next week. I don't know how we're going to top this, but we will. We will find a way to top this. This has been the Rogue Wave podcast, talking comics, movies, TV, and pop culture. We will see you guys next week. Rogue Wave.